Bas relief, about 6 feet long, and I did it the way the Van Dam looked when it was underpowered, with Model Ts sitting on the deck and smoke coming out of the stack, and this guy said, "Wow, you made that water look like wood."
What I saw was that this great spirit, this entrepreneurial, creative spirit that had happened around here was sort of dying. It kind of was represented by this old paddle wheel that was rotting in the park, and that was kind of representing what the creative spirit of the waterfront had existed like. And there must be a way of trying to save that, keep the memory of what was there, and try and sort of cultivate some kind of energy of making it last into the future. We can't let the spirit die, and then in 10 years' time there'll be a hermetically sealed public park with no recollection of all this history and wonderful things that happened.
Oh, going on home. Yeah, I'm going on home.
Began with a dream. The young man, Raymond H. Clark, sitting on the banks in Richmond.
All I can tell you from what Alan told me is that his father would dream up ideas of things he wanted to do. And he found out about traffic getting from Marin County to Contra Costa County. You had to go up to Highway 37, Vallejo, and then come back down again. And he thought, it's only a few miles from San Quentin to Point Richmond, and maybe this would be a way to work things out.
And obviously on the blueprints that you showed me, it said July, and I know the boat was finished, I believe it was May of 1916.
All aboard!
It wasn't just a people mover, and that's the neat thing about the whole ferry company, and obviously the Charles Van Dam being the first primary boat and state, kind of workhorse of the company, the people, the cars, and the cattle. That grew into, I think, bigger than they even thought. And, the quotes in the books and the publications in the newspapers that, that Raymond Clark said that they wouldn't hire any deckhand that couldn't punch cattle kind of thing, because they always would have to bring the dairy cows. And so it's just, it goes beyond just moving people or cars. It's kind of a very interesting extra.
I do remember going on the Charles Van Dam because we were so thrilled by the Charles Van Dam. They had a second deck on there, and the second deck had a lunch counter. And you could get on the Charles Van Dam in Martinez and order a cheese sandwich, a grilled cheese sandwich for 30 cents. And of course, a glass of milk for 10 cents maybe, or a cup of coffee for a nickel.
Spring of 1958, I was trying to convince this beautiful red-headed lady that, that I was the man of her dreams or something, and I took her to a restaurant on the estuary called the Canton Ferry. It was a Chinese restaurant. I knew that it was the converted version of the ferryboat Charles Van Dam, which I'd heard about, except I remember the ferry was kind of cut up. They had cut holes in the side there so you could see the paddle wheels. I don't remember too much about the dinner because I was smitten with her, and I got down on bended knee and asked her to marry me, and she said yes, and we did.
They had been a restaurant over in the Alameda Estuary, and they went bankrupt. And in order to keep seizure of all everything that they had on board the boat, they brought it over here and grounded it in the mud right off Boulder Point there.
For a while, the boat just sat out in the bay. And my husband said, Juanita, don't you get yourself in a mess over there. I'm not. You go on and do your thing and I'll do mine. When they brought the boat on in, it was water all around it. And so the guy said, we've got all this dirt we've got to get rid of. Do you know where we can dump it? I said, right here. And he said, you're kidding. I said, why should I kid you? I need the water. Gone.
We're trying to become a restaurant like Ondine's because Marty Martinez was half owner of it, and he also half owner of Ondine's. And then it changed, and then it was a rock and roll club. I mean, there was rock and roll music there all night, Friday night till Saturday morning, about 2 o'clock, between 2 and 5. Same thing Saturday. So I got to where I could audition, Wendy and I could audition the bands that were going to play there to see who got thumbs up or thumbs down. Now, Janis Joplin and Big Brother and the whole, they didn't have to audition. I mean, they were slam dunk.
It was the same scene. There was this North Beach scene, there was the Red Dog Saloon, there was the Charles Van Dam, and there was another band called the Flaming Groovies, and I'm not sure what the connection is, but somebody set the place on fire.
But God, those were some times.
I think we're living in the good old days, the best anybody ever had. Hell, I think we're living in the good old days. So cheer up, brothers, and be glad. Well, things we're doing now will be memories later, so you better do the best that you can. Well, if you start right now, it's bound to get better. You'll soon be the best in the land. Well, 'cause I think we'll
It seemed like another culture at that time. Well, there were a number of high points where people all over the world knew about Gate 5. And you see, that was right after Haight-Ashbury, and that was the next movement. And people from the famed hog farm came and visited, stayed for 2 or 3 days, and a lot of artists lived there, a lot of people that were writers, very serious people, but yet they had this freedom that it was just unparalleled.
Yeah, the waterfront was a special place. Behind the Van Dam was like sanctuary for a lot of us. It was a self-contained community.
Rip Torn and Geraldine Page moved onto the boat.
Rip Torn and Geraldine Page.
Oh, they stayed right on the Van
Dam. Living on a Van Dam with their kids.
Yeah.
He was going to turn the Van Dam into a Shakespearean theater. Him and Geraldine.
They didn't get too far with that, but it was certainly fun to have them around. We didn't know how famous they were, so of course we treated them like average scum rather than some special scum.
And so it really was. It became a neighborhood community center. We had organized parties on the Van Dam when we had the Red Legs Band playing.
This guy, Joseph Brennan, Joey Crunch as we call him, he showed up on the scene. He was such a good drummer that he made me want to play. And so we started the Red Legs up, and I believe that was 1970 or 71.
I remember the Charles Van Dam, a worn-out old ferry boat that the Red Legs converted into a homemade dance hall. It was funky, all right, but that didn't stop people from flocking on board come Saturday night.
Arquez leased the property to Waldo Point Harbor, who then wanted to develop it as housing.
When Arquez sold the property to Waldo Point Harbor, of course it was going to affect all of us, and we started having meetings led by Perot Caro in the Charles Van Dam. The meetings were high adrenaline, high energy, very exciting, and we were all young and energetic and ready to fight this change. Ted Rose came in with a bulldozer, no matter what paperwork we had, to save that structure, and just started bulldozing. That's when members took to the tops of the ferry boat and climbed the stacks and stayed up there, and the police had to climb up there to get them down, and everyone was arrested, trying to bring attention to the fact that we were in line for historical status for those structures.
Well, the company that tore down the Charles Van Dam lost money doing it. They were used to tearing down buildings. They had no idea how a vessel was assembled.
To physically watch it come down broke our hearts. And then when it was down, there was no barrier anymore between us and the outside world. And that was very scary. It was one of the monumental things that marked the change of an era.
Well remembered, but gone.
Well, the past ain't nothing but a shadow in your mind. Tomorrow may never come around. So open up your eyes and see where you are, and don't give a thought to where you're bound. Well, 'cause I think we're living in the good old days, the best anybody ever had. Well, I think we're living in the good old days. So cheer up, brothers, and be glad.
Charles Van Dam is a ship I sail. Charles Van Dam. Oh, the ship I sail. Charles Van Dam. Charles Van Dam is a ship I sail. Charles Van Dam. Oh, the ship I sail. Charles Van Dam. Charles Van Dam. Ship I sail. Through every storm and every gale. Charles Van Dam is the ship I sail. Oh, the ship I sail. Charles Van Dam. Oh, the ship I sail. Charles Van Dam. Charles Van Dam is sailing again. Charles Van Dam. Oh, she's sailing again. Charles Van Dam. Charles Van Dam is sailing again. Charles Van Dam. Oh, she's sailing again.
Everyone who took that boat was passionate about some kind of creative dream that they wanted to start, and that there must be some way of kind of saving it. So at the time, you know, we didn't know if we could save the wheel. We thought, at least kind of save its story and let the Charles Van Dam talk for itself.
It would be a shame to see this go, because I don't think there are any other paddle wheels in public parks like this one.